Hey there, this is Ian McTavish with Team 4152 with just some basic FRC driver training. So, a couple key things that I want to highlight. This is the driver station, so that's the software that you download. And First Inspires, they have links to all of this stuff. So, you check the links. When you get the driver's laptop ready, the first thing is you power the robot on, you make sure you've got a fresh battery, and you connect to the Wi-Fi. So I've already connected. And when you're connected to the Wi-Fi, you can see the driver station here that we've got running. And so there's two screens here. We've got our dashboard, which includes the vision from our camera. You can't really see it, but I'm waving. But if I wore reflective tape, then you would see the reflective tape. We've set the contrast so it's only picking up that. And down here, you've got the driver station. So this tab right here that gives you the options for driving. So the first thing is, right now we're set for teleoperated. If we wanted to test our autonomous, we could click that. If we wanted to have an actual practice, we could do that. And if we just had some testing things, we can select the different options. So you make sure that you're in the right option. You have your PC battery life, the CPU percentage, um, and then you can specify which team station you are. So if we have autonomous set up based on if we're red 2 or red blue 2 or whatever, then we can set that. Over here, we've got some battery information. So the communications, if you're connected, that will be green. If there's code on our robot, that's green. And if the joysticks are plugged in, that's green. So right now you can see everything's good to go. The battery percent voltage is really important. So when you have a fresh battery, have a look at what voltage you have. This battery, I've been doing some testing today, so it's not full. It is over 12 volts, but when it starts getting below 12 volts in competition, you want to make sure you always are using a fresh battery, and that's really important. These are the error messages. The code that we've got on there right now is popping out some CAN errors that we need to clean up and deal with, but you can look at your log files and stuff. So as we're testing, this is really, really useful. Right now, you've got little messages. You could have it as a chart instead, um, and messages and a chart. So it just depends on your preference there. Our other tab, we have different information. So what our IP address is for a robot and stuff, and what version of the software. So when you go to competition, you want to make sure that you have the appropriate version. So you got to pay attention to those things. If you need to reboot the RoboRio or restart the code, you can do that. This tab, that's where our team number gets put in. What type of dashboard are you using? So if we want to use the shuffleboard and stuff, we can select that. You've got all of your different options here: countdown, autonomous, delay. So all of those different things. Then there's our USB, so you can see which controller. So I'm holding the one USB right now, and you can see, so this USB, I'm moving the joysticks, and you can see my left joystick as I move it. You can see the effect on the joystick, and so you can see which buttons are confirmed to what. Really important to talk to the programmers, because we can specify what the buttons do. We have a chart that indicates what buttons will drive the robot. So obviously our driver needs to know that, so that we're good to go. And down here, ways to disable and stuff, some different metrics and things. So that's kind of the driver station. Up top, you've got our dashboard. So right now we can see our limelight. If we had a different camera plugged in, we could access that. Over here, you can see the joysticks, and you can see the different controls. I'm moving the one joystick around. You can see what's happening. With the gyro, you can see what's going on. We have an option to be able to select the autonomous routine. We don't think we have that active right now. and then we've got some other stuff in here that we can use to be able to have different checklists and different variables and stuff. So we take advantage of this as we're developing our robots so that we can record different variables and be able to quickly refer to them as we're doing our testing and stuff like that. So that's the basics. I'm IntelliOperated. I'm going to click enable right now. And when I've got it enabled, it is now live on the robot itself. You can't see it, but I'm wondering if I can share my camera somehow. I don't think so easily, so I'm not going to worry about it. But on the robot itself, the signal light is now flashing. So flashing indicates that it's on, and I can use the joystick to move the robot and turn the robot around. And you can see with the turret, so I've got, you can see with the turret, there's a little thing right at the top there. So that's something that's reflective that it's picking up. And that's basically how the targeting works. So for the 2020 game, Excalibur, we had two controls. So we've got two sets of joysticks. I am currently holding the driver's joystick. So as I use the joystick, that will move the robot around. I have commands to move the climber. The buttons allow me to intake and reverse the intake. I can shift gears because we have a shifting gearbox. I can raise the intake and lower it and shoot the ball. So all of those things are on the drivers. The second controller is for the operator, and basically the operator has a couple of options here. So one option is they can zoom in, and with the camera, they can also increase the RPM um, of the shooter, and they can use the. So what we did is we found during a match that the earlier on in the match, the balls would be shooting really well, and then as they got compressed and worn down, they would start losing their altitude. So the operator had a their part of their job was to watch each shot and see the moment it started losing altitude, then we would increase the RPM, which would spin the shooting wheels a little bit faster. And we figured out the amount to press it to get it to work effectively, and it seemed to work really well. They could also decrease it. The other thing that they can do is rotate the turret, which allows us to be able to have them kind of get the turret in position so when the driver is ready to shoot, the autonomous code for the shooting takes over, and it doesn't take very long to find the turret because we've been helping it along. So that's kind of the rundown of the driver station. And the key thing is that we need to get some practice driving. Initially, the goal is just getting used to driving. Once we get used to driving, then it's being able to maneuver around the playing field, being able to handle obstacles, things like that. And then once we've dealt with obstacles, then it's being able to manipulate game pieces. And once we've kind of gone through each level, then the next level is to put us in kind of a competition mode. So having somebody drive one of our other robots and try to achieve some game tasks while another robot is hounding you. So it's really important to practice these things. This is a sport. So it's when you're doing it, you have to remember that as the driver, it's like an athletic competition. So you've got to get a good night's sleep. You've got to be focused. You've got to be able to handle thousands of people in the stands cheering and making lots of noise. And you got to get the job done. So hope that helps. Have a good one.